Flavored sea salts, infusing coarse sea salt with lemon zest, rosemary, or garlic. The ultimate guide to flavored sea salts. Elevate your kitchen game with lemon, rosemary, and garlic. Have you ever sat down at a high-end bistro, reached for a small dish of finishing salt, and realized that a single pinch completely transformed your meal? It wasn't just salty. It was bright, aromatic, and layered. The secret isn't some expensive kitchen gadget or a culinary degree. It's the art of infused sea salt. Infusing coarse sea salt with ingredients like fresh lemon zest, woody rosemary, or pungent garlic is one of the easiest and most cost-effective ways to level up your cooking. Whether you are a seasoned home chef or someone who just wants their weekday chicken to taste a bit more exciting, flavored salts are your new best friend. In this deep dive, we're going to explore why sea salt is the perfect canvas, how to master the infusion process at home, and creative ways to use these flavor bombs in your daily meals. Why coarse sea salt? Before we get into the how-to, let's talk about the why. Why use coarse sea salt instead of standard table salt? Table salt is highly processed. It's ground fine, stripped of its natural minerals, and usually bolstered with anti-caking agents and iodine. It's functional, but it lacks soul. Coarse sea salt, on the other hand, is harvested through the evaporation of ocean water. This process leaves behind trace minerals like magnesium, potassium, and calcium, which give the salt a more complex, briny flavor profile. The texture is also key. When you're infusing flavor, you want a grain that can stand up to moisture without immediately dissolving. Coarse grains provide a satisfying crunch, what chefs call a finishing quality that bursts with flavor the moment it hits your tongue. On the big three, Tushiri, Tenepesairi, eating rosemary and garlic. While you can infuse salt with almost anything from chili flakes to vanilla beans, we're focusing on the big three. These are the workhorses of the pantry. They are versatile, aromatic, and universally loved. 1. Lemon zest sea salt, the brightener. Lemon salt is like sunshine in a jar. It cuts through the richness of fats and adds a high note to dishes that feel a bit flat. Best for grilled fish, roasted asparagus, sautéed shrimp, and even the rim of a margarita glass. The secret: use only the yellow part of the peel. The white pith underneath is bitter and will ruin the delicate citrus aroma. 2. Rosemary sea salt, the earthy essential. Rosemary is a sturdy, resinous herb that pairs beautifully with the mineral notes of sea salt. It brings an earthy, pine-like fragrance that feels incredibly cozy. Best for roasted potatoes, focaccia bread, lamb chops, and hearty stews. The secret: ensure your rosemary is bone dry before mixing, or use a wet cure method, which we'll discuss below, to preserve the oils. 3. Garlic sea salt, the savory powerhouse. Forget that dusty garlic powder in the back of your cabinet. Freshly infused garlic salt is pungent, savory, and deeply satisfying. Best for popcorn, steaks, roasted chicken, and avocado toast. The secret: garlic has high moisture content. To prevent the salt from clumping, you'll need to either dehydrate the mixture or use a slightly higher salt to garlic ratio. How to make infused salts at home. There are 2 primary ways to infuse salt: the slow dry method and the quick oven method. Both work exceptionally well, but your choice depends on how much time you have. The slow dry method, best for preserving volatile oils. This is the purist's way. It relies on the salt's natural ability to draw out moisture and absorb flavor over time. Prep your ingredients. Finely mince your rosemary, zest your lemons, or grate your garlic. The ratio. A good rule of thumb is 1 tablespoon of flavoring for every 1 to 2 cups of coarse sea salt. Combine in a bowl, toss the salt and your flavoring together. Use your fingertips to massage the lemon zest or herbs into the salt crystals. This helps release the essential oils. Air dry. Spread the mixture in a thin layer on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Leave it on your counter for 24 to 48 hours. Store. Once it feels completely dry to the touch, transfer it to an airtight glass jar. The quick oven method, best for large batches. If you're making gifts or don't want to wait 2 days, The oven is your friend. Preheat. Set your oven to its lowest possible setting, usually around 170 degrees or 200 degrees. Mix. Combine your salt and flavorings as described above. Bake. Spread the salt on a baking sheet. Place it in the oven for 15 to 30 minutes. You aren't cooking it, you're just evaporating the moisture from the lemon or garlic. Cool. Let it cool completely before jarring. If you jar it while warm, condensation will form, and you'll end up with a salty brick. Pro tips for success. Making flavored salt is simple, but these tips will ensure your results are professional grade. Quality matters. Use the best sea salt you can find. Malden sea salt flakes are incredible for finishing, while a classic Great Celtic salt or a high-quality Himalayan pink salt offers different mineral undertones. Microplane is key. For lemon and garlic, use a microplane grater. It creates a fine paste zest that integrates perfectly with the salt grains without leaving large, chewy chunks. Stay dry. Moisture is the enemy of shelf life. If your salt feels clumpy after a few days, it wasn't dried enough. You can always spread it back out on a tray to dry further. Gifted. Infused salts make incredible gifts. Put them in small mason jars, add a piece of twine and a handwritten label, and you have a thoughtful, artisanal present. Creative ways to use your salts. Now that you have your jars of liquid gold, well, dry gold, how do you use them? The breakfast boost. Sprinkle a pinch of lemon sea salt over a soft-boiled egg or avocado toast. The acidity of the lemon cuts through the creamy yolk and fat perfectly. The movie night game changer. Ditch the artificial butter. Toss your popcorn in olive oil and a generous dusting of garlic sea salt. It's addictive, savory, and much healthier. Before putting your chicken or potatoes in the oven, rub them down with olive oil and rosemary sea salt. And the salt will draw out the moisture from the skin to make it crispy, while the rosemary infuses the meat with flavor. The cocktail hour. Use lemon sea salt to rim a glass for a gin and tonic or a salty dog. It adds a visual flair and a burst of flavor that complements the botanicals in the gin. Storage and shelf life. When stored in a cool, dry place in an airtight glass container, infused salts can last for up to 6 months. However, the flavor is most potent in the first 8 to 12 weeks. Avoid plastic. Over time, plastic can absorb the oils from the rosemary or lemon, and it can also impart a plasticky taste to the salt. Glass is always best. Keep it dark. Sunlight can bleach the color out of your rosemary and diminish the potency of the lemon oils. A pantry or a dark cupboard is the ideal home for your collection. Final thoughts. Infusing sea salt is a meditative aromatic process that yields high rewards for very little effort. It encourages you to slow down and appreciate the raw ingredients in your kitchen. Once you start experimenting with lemon, rosemary, and garlic, you'll likely find yourself branching out to things like lime and chili, orange and ginger, or even toasted sesame and nori. The kitchen is your laboratory, and salt is your most powerful tool. By infusing it with these vibrant ingredients, you're not just seasoning your food, you're elevating your entire culinary experience.